Social media apps have a lot of useful features for public health. They allow users to bridge online and offline action so they can help promote health behaviors like vaccination. They're not bound by time or space, so health officials can use them to reach people they might not otherwise. Social media provide updates on social networks, so health departments can use them to learn what issues concern their communities. However, these key features also enable bullying. Bridging online and offline spaces enables in-person harassment. No longer limited by time and space, people near and far can pile on in nonstop streams of harassment. Connecting to broad networks means that harassers can target their victims' loved ones and colleagues. Rebecca Black experienced the highs and lows of this visibility as a child, from red carpets and music video cameos to death threats and falling out with friends. Health officials have increasingly experienced these kinds of dynamics too. The COVID-19 pandemic brought a level of attention and visibility to public health officials that used to be unimaginable. Great, right? Well, despite known harms of harassment and disinformation, social media are unlikely to change anytime soon. These platforms don't foster engagement for its own sake, but because it generates revenue. Unfortunately, we can see this in the case of Rebecca Black. How many dollars in ad revenue did this one instance of cyberbullying generate? We'll never know exactly, but we have some clues. The Google 2011 Zeitgeist report listed Rebecca Black as the fastest rising inquiry in 2011 among the likes of Adele and Steve Jobs. Meanwhile, Rebecca and her mom were in a legal battle to retain access to her song and the use of her own image for profit. The relationship between harm and profit is still a key feature of social media today. An analysis from the Center for Countering Digital Hate estimates that Twitter stands to gain $19 million in revenue per year from reinstating just 10 prominent accounts that were previously suspended for hate speech, harassment, and disinformation. 19 million. That math might not add up the same now, but don't underestimate the profit potential of hate comments and rage clicks. In Rebecca's story, the decentralized nature of online networks made it hard to hold anyone accountable for harm, even though so many people participated. We can see some parallels in the death threats against Michigan health officials in the summer of 2021. A decentralized movement against pandemic safety measures fed into these threats. Meanwhile, that same decentralization made it so local leaders could disavow connections between their movement and such harassment, despite the fact that public health officials faced at least 1,499 incidents between March 2020 and January 2021. This situation prompted Dr. Michael R. Frazier, the executive director of the Association of State and Territorial Health Officials, to speak out for more robust workforce protections, saying the solution to the problem is a robust, high-functioning, and sustainable public health system. There's a sort of chicken and egg problem here, though. How do we get funding for a more robust public health system without pre-existing support? And how do we drum up more support without a more robust public health system? I think this is why Dr. Fraser puts the problem of individual harassment in one hand and legislative weakening of public health authority in the other. They play well together, but sometimes in the worst way possible for actually protecting people from disease. Political targeting can make personal targeting easier and vice versa. The end result could very well be an even smaller and thus even more overworked workforce that might not accomplish all of its goals, thus making further defunding easier, and on and on. These issues have no quick fixes, and they're bigger than public health professionals can tackle alone. Luckily, we don't have to. We can learn from the efforts of people like journalists and live streamers who have been around the block a few times when it comes to online harassment. Universities and public health departments can put plans in place to respond to online harassment. Again, fields like journalism offer some good examples. And on a policy level, the federal government can create a reporting system for cases of online harassment so we can better understand, recognize, and mitigate the damage from coordinated abuse. With online hate becoming the norm, it might be hard to imagine a better future. And this is actually why I chose Rebecca Black as the main example for this video. It's almost unfathomable now that anyone cared enough about a 13-year-old's music video to make disparaging comments, much less millions and millions of people and late-night TV hosts and comedians and blogs and on and on. For her part, Rebecca Black has found ways to write her own story. She continued to release music and engage fans on her own terms. She's described the hope she gets from people apologizing for how they contributed to bullying her. And Rebecca Black Was Here is a fantastic EP, if you know, you know. In an interview with Vice, she described how natural it was for her to keep pursuing her passion for music. When someone asks her why she kept going with her career, even in the face of unimaginable setbacks, she can only respond with, "Why don't we all just stop then? Why doesn't anyone just stop?" I think a lot of people in public health can relate to that kind of resilience, sticking with something because you believe in it. You don't go into public health for the money because there is none. And you don't go into it for fame, again, because there is none. And although there definitely were a lot of understandable resignations during the pandemic, lots of people also stayed in the field. And applications to public health programs rose significantly during the pandemic. I started my PhD in public health during the pandemic, and it hasn't been easy. In fact, it's made me question how sustainable our public health institutions actually are. But as I move forward in public health, I want to remember that resilience at the same time as I try to contribute to structural changes so people don't have to be so resilient in the first place.